A very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon rush. My name is Randolph. I want to say thank you very much and for joining us this afternoon. It is a wonderful afternoon in Georgetown, Guyana, and we're happy that you're to the afternoon rush. It is the rush, and we'll be bringing to you unpacking incredible and valid information for the next 50 minutes or so. So stay tuned. Again, as usual, we want to welcome you. Our apologies for not having a show. Yesterday, we were experiencing some technical difficulties, but we're here today. I want to say welcome to those persons joining us internationally in the region and right here in Guyana, those persons who are normally watching us. So, like we always do, shout out in the comments where you're viewing us from. Let me start reading some of these comments for you. Brooklyn, New York in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in. Toronto, Canada. Greetings to all of you. And welcome to the show. Good afternoon to every single body locked in right now. Right. Christopher Jones is busy. Somebody's asking in the comment, where is Christopher Jones? He is a bit busy. He is taking care of his parliamentary duties as chief whip. He will be back soon with the midday break. He's normally on in the middays, and we'll be back with that program very soon. Welcome. Remember, let's know where you're joining us from in the comments. Let us know where you're joining us from, which part of the world. Brooklyn, New York. Thank you very much for tuning in. St. Lucia, our friends in St. Vincent and Grenadines also tune in. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are still with you. We know that relief has been pouring in. I know that a vessel would have departed Guyana today. Thank you very much to those persons who are contributing to that effort. Of course, they experienced their natural disaster there, the volcano, the La Soufrière volcano erupting. And we are, of course, keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. So, good afternoon to you. Before we start unpacking the major issues, of course, we like to give you a chance, give everybody a chance. Virginia, thank you very much. Brooklyn again. We have a number of persons looking at us from Brooklyn. Again, let's apologize for yesterday for not being able to bring the program to you. Folks, as we on the issue of the program, let me say to you that we're making attempts to change the structure of the afternoon rush. The rush is going to be a little different in in a few weeks' time. We want to make the program a little more engaging for you, and so we are going to be doing some things to change the format of the show. We are going to be having a panel, and so forgive us. We're in a different location today as we get the set done and everything constructed for this new format of the afternoon rush. So if you hear some outdoor noise, know that we are not in our usual location. So just bear with us. But we are going to be doing something different for the rush, 5:30 to 6:30 each evening. But we're going to be having more of a panel discussion where we have persons, even persons from the other side who we may be able to debate with. This is what we want to bring to you: honest and truthful debates on topics, on issues, topical issues. So we are making attempts right now to change the format a little bit, tweak the format of the show a little bit with you in mind, so that we can present the most engaging content for you, the viewers. We know that 5:30 to 6:30. So we're doing that. So again, forgive us for if you may hear a few noises in the background and thing, but we are our set is under construction. So we are at a temporary location. Um, we are at a temporary location right now, but we'll be back in that brand new set, new format pretty soon for you. As it is today, we have a number of issues to unpack, so let us get right. Let us get the ball rolling as we continue to share. Remember, share the live stream when you come on. Let your friends and family know that the rush is on, and we're going to be unpacking some issues, some things definitely need to talk about this afternoon. We're going to be unpacking. So let your friends and family know that the rush is on. And of course, we'll be unpacking some very interesting topics that have surfaced over the weekend, and of course over the Monday. So we want to deal with those very very quickly. As I share the live stream, I encourage you to do the same. Share the live stream. Let everyone know that we are about to start unpacking some of the credible and valid information. Folks, thank you very much for being a part of what we're doing here. Let me just share a few more places. Let me just share in a few more places. One, right. And as I share, I encourage you to do the same. Let's get cracking, folks. Let's get cracking. Let's get right into it. Early this morning, we saw a video that I found very interesting and very disturbing. Um, as you may know, there were attempts, not attempts, there was a successful attempt made by the APNU AFC to decentralize the Guyana passport office and the processing of your passport. Lo and behold, we've had, folks, 407 days since election. Of course, we still do not have credible results from those elections. 407 days since the March 2nd regional and general elections, and the nation still does not have credible results of those elections. We've had 254 days of this installed administration, this fraudulent installed administration, and of course, we still do not have credible results, and we continue to see the regression, right? Lo and behold, we see this video popping up this morning. This is of the passport office. Folks, it is so disturbing to see this sort of thing. And note that we're still in the midst of COVID-19. We're still in the midst of COVID-19. And this is what we're seeing. Right? Let me play you. Is what we are seeing. And persons may remember that, you know, this wasn't the case. Great attempts were made to decentralize the services of the passport office and put in all these various regions so that persons don't have to be standing up in lines like at the passport office. But what do we see early this morning? Hundreds of Guyanese in a huge line in the midst of COVID as we are talking about COVID-19, right? The, according to the people, the army bus, the task force bus is going around picking up people. I wonder if they know what is going on at these government locations. And I'll be reading some of the comments on what is happening, right? I'll be reading some of the comments as what is happening. People said, you know what? But this is happening at GRA too. So we did a bit of our own investigation to see whether or not this is true. So when our cameras went down to GRA, lo and behold, we saw the same thing happening. Note that this is the government that is telling you about COVID-19 regulations, and they're picking people up and they're fining people, and they're saying you know how much money you got to pay if you don't wear a mask in town. And we have this sort of confusion at the passport office. We have same confusion, even more confusion at GRA. Huh? This is what we're seeing. As I said at the beginning of the show, 254 days of this administration, and it seems as if they intend on reversing all of the good that was done by the APNU AFC. All of it. All of the good. As I read through some of the comments on Facebook under the video of that long line passport office, persons are questioning, so, you know, why are these people running from this country that is that is so poised to be the Dubai of the Caribbean. Hmm? Why are people so hurried to get out of Guyana? What is happening? So we saw the same thing happening at the GRE. We saw similar situations as we are talking again, and this speaks to the disconnect between of this government. There is always a disconnect between the rhetoric and the action of the PPP, because we have the Minister of Health talking about enforcing COVID regulations, and these are the things that we need to do. But these government agencies don't seem to take that same message to heart. So what we see is this continued reversal of all of the good that was done. Persons commenting under the AP and UAFC going to the passport office was a 10 minutes you're in and out. You get what you need. 254 days into the PPP's administration, and we have this. This is what we have. Long lines. Let's look at it. The gains and the efforts made by the AP and UAFC. Folks, you hear the minister talking about COVID, but there is no action to back up anything. As I said today, we sent our cameras down to GRA to see whether or not these reports were correct. And what we saw is similar to what is happening there at the passport office, even if it's not, if not worse, because the people at the passport office, they were standing in a long line, but at least they were socially distanced. But we have a whole heap of people crammed up in a little space at GRE. But then we have the Minister of Health running around talking about COVID regulations. Why is the task force boss not coming and look at this? This is what I would suggest to force people. Y'all need to come at GRA, and y'all need to go at the passport office and all these government agencies that got people, instead of letting people know that there's a requirement. Instead of doing that, you have a whole bunch of people crowded while the government run around and talk about enforcement, right? This is utter madness, folks. We continue. We continue to watch. We continue to see what is happening. Let me just give you one final look at, because these were scenes, these were images, these were footages like these you didn't see during the AP and UAFC's time. This is what you saw prior to 2015. Before 2015, after the AP and UAFC would have come in and decided to make these long lines at the place like the passport office a thing of the past. Speed up the system. So nobody got to take no little money, little brand, get your passport quick. Everybody can get their passport quickly. But some have suggested that the people like this sort of confusion and this sort of chaos and slow movement because everybody palms gotta get grease. Everybody gotta get lean. So let me just show you one more time. This is what is happening. Yep, that is what is happening. Folks, let us move on because we can't spend all afternoon on this particular issue, as sad as it is, as we see things revert to before 2050 standards. We can't spend all afternoon on that. What I want to do, folks, is to topic. So many things happening in the news, so little them. Folks, on Friday last, I shared with you in my story behind the story what was believed to be a COVID cover up happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So let's just, when we say foreign affairs, we have so many different things to unpack when we deal with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because we're going to get to their latest blunder a little later down the show. We're going to talk about this UN vote. We're also going to talk about some other things happening in our society, but we're going to talk about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in detail a little later as we talk about this no vote at the UN. But before we get to that, as if that wasn't a big enough news story, we have what we introduced Friday in our story behind the story, a seemingly long list of cover ups happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And we're going to be dealing with this because it turns out, let me just bring this up for you, that it is more serious than we suspected. Just this morning, the sources at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs would have indicated to us that they have, since Friday, they have discovered many more confirmed cases of COVID 19. And the concerning thing is that there seems to be no effort to put the measures in place to safeguard those persons working at the ministry. Our show received a call from a concerned citizen who has a relative working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and what they recounted is nothing short of terrifying. What they are recounting about their treatment, about how this ministry has decided to treat with this outbreak of COVID 19 and not protect the workers, is almost unbelievable. Citizens have called to say this situation is dire at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it seems as though there are strategic steps being taken, one, to cover it down, two, to ensure that persons don't talk about this, while they are not putting measures in place to safeguard no sanitization, no contact tracing, nothing at all being put in place at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Again, we are sounding this alarm, right? Double digit. The reports coming to us is that double digits. That's the amount. It's in the teens. The amount of persons who have tested positive at that ministry. Every day, confirmed cases coming in. One would remember it was that same minister, as I said on Friday, who was one of the first to be tested positive with COVID 19. You thought. I'm sure you can remember that. And on that occasion, it was reported that the minister hardly went out, left his workers there, and nothing was put in place to safeguard them. This is what we're seeing, folks. This was, of course, when the PVP was installed a little after August the 2nd, 2020, and they relaxed all of the measures. They said to public servants, look, you have to come back out full time. Persons reported that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, those steps taken to ensure that the place is ventilated and windows are open and the AC is not used, all of those things were reversed. All of them, they were reversed. So, what do we have right now happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? A massive outbreak of COVID 19. And of course, no word from the minister, no word from anyone at the ministry as to what is happening and what measures are being put in place. Again, we are sounding the alarm. We're bringing this to the attention of the captain himself. And I call him captain because he seems to be sailing onto a different universe. He seems to be sailing, going somewhere. Frank Anthony. Folks, and if this wasn't enough, this craziness that seems to be playing out at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, if this wasn't enough, today we saw reports of similar things happening at the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs. What is happening in our country? If that wasn't enough, if that wasn't enough, we see similar reports coming out of the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs. Sources have reached out. And as you read this report, you didn't get any message from the minister. Same as with Foreign Affairs, Todd sitting there as if he's in a sunken place, unwilling to come and tell the people what is happening. And I ain't even start yet on the foreign policy blunders. But the Village Voice is reporting 2 more tested positive recently. More results expected this week. The Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, right? They are after conducting mass COVID-19 testing on their staff on Monday. This is similar thing happening at the ministries. And folks, we have to ask ourselves, why? We had 25 deaths for April alone. April, today is the 13th, folks. 13th. April ain't gone halfway yet. We had 25 deaths. But we have to sit back and we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, what exactly is happening? What exactly is happening? And why is it that we are seeing this? It is no mystery. Do you remember when the PPP were installed on August the 2nd? A little while after, there was a directive to public servants that they all should be coming out back to work. After measures were put in place, a person to work shift system. Now we're seeing all of these positive results in ministries. There's no mystery as to why this is happening. This is happening because of the lax approach to COVID-19 on the part of the PPP administration. You don't have to work out no scientific calculation to figure out why we are seeing an uptick in cases. If you relax measures, people will behave in a relaxed manner. I keep repeating it. That this rise in COVID numbers and COVID deaths have to be put squarely at the feet of the PPP. Because when they took office, when they were installed after August the 2nd, they went right ahead and relaxed every measure that they could find. As if, you know what, the APNU AFC had you in prison. And they were shutting down this and they put measures in place and the curfew was 8, I believe. They pulled it back to 10:30. And they said, you know what, the bars could open up at 40%. And they are on record as saying that we are going to do soft enforcement. So all those measures were relaxed. Now that the numbers have skyrocketed, they are running around like headless chickens trying to figure out what to do and have reverted to even harder enforcement measures than that APNU AFC had. Now they are picking persons up from clubs and finding them 20,000, and they're implementing measures that they said were hard measures. Even harder, they're putting in place now laws to fine you if you're not wearing a mask in a public space. After they would have allowed the horse to leave the barn, you see them running around like headless chickens now. This has to be placed at their feet. It has to be placed at their feet. And you know what is interesting? It was the vice president who said all of these things. Again, we have highlighted on many occasions the disconnect between what the vice president, fraudulent vice president said or is saying, and what these ministers and what the president is saying. As he was the one who was pushing this soft enforcement, you can't lock people up in the houses nonsense. Right? Now you have the president shouting that they're responsible, right? To take more responsibility. And finally, the Guyanese need to understand that COVID-19 pandemic can only be managed appropriately if persons act responsibly. Now, if you give persons a license not to act responsibly, and you tell them that look, you can go and you can party, and you come home till like 10:30, and we wouldn't arrest you. We can just enforce, we can warn you, and we can talk to you and give you mask. The people will do what they have to do. Now you're running around trying to arrest them. Utter madness. Again, president saying one thing, fraudulent vice president saying something else. We have the minister of health who is obviously living in some parallel universe, shouting something else, urging people to take the vaccine. This is worse than a cake shop. It is worse than a cake shop. A cake shop don't even be run so poorly and shabbily. Folks, again, thank you very much for being a part of the live stream. Share the live stream, share with your friends and family, let them know that we are live and we are unpacking some credible and valid information. So let me go to something that as we are talking about cake shop and running shabbily, let us go to our story behind the story this afternoon, folks. What is the story behind the story? Right. In our story behind this story this afternoon, we are going to go right back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Folks, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Recently, we saw the Ministry of Foreign Affairs issue a statement speaking of a mistake, so to speak, at the UN on the voting of the UN resolution. Let me just break this down for you guys. Let's unpack the issues one by one so that our viewers understand what is really behind this thing. I know you would have seen in the media that Guyana voted no, and there's some convoluted explanation by the ministry through the UN representative, the Guyana's UN representative, Miss Burkett, Rodriguez Burkett. But let me unpack this situation for you. What happened? Right? So let's just go here. And the headline says Despite our apparent correction, the record still shows that Guyana voted against the call against for action against. Well, you say, okay, something seems strange here. Why would Guyana vote against um, this resolution? Right? According to the UN Digital Library, among 14 countries that voted against the resolution calling for concrete action for the elimination of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerances, right? And a comprehensive implementation of the Durban Declaration Program of Action. Right, the draft resolution too was put to vote at the 47th plenary meeting of the United Nations General Assembly on the 31st of December 2020. 160 persons slash countries voted in favor, 14 against. Guyana was one of those 14 that voted against, while 44 abstained. But Guyana's permanent representative at the United Nations, Carlin Rodrigues Burkett, said that the country did, not only did the country vote in support, that they introduced the resolution. So you say, what is happening? Why these conflicting reports? Well, let us get to the bottom of this particular story. Right? It was the APNU AFC Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs, Amanza Walton Desir. And this is her opening statement. She said that, the PPP government has brought shame on this country. And why would she say such a thing? Right? The member of parliament said that Ms. Rodrigues Burkett's explanation, right, only adds to the muddle and the confusion. Right? And it's a clear indication that the PPP administration is yet to come to terms with the fact that we are living in an information age. We're peddling half truths, and an attempt to insult the intelligence of Guyanese can no longer cut it. Here is the problem that we have. Caroline Rodrigues Burkett, who is the permanent representative of the UN, said that, look, Guyana voted for this thing. This is in the statement, and that it is totally false that Guyana did not vote for it, or Guyana voted against it. The problem with this explanation is that it is very easy for one to go on the internet and to access the UN records. Very, very easy. All of the minutes of the meeting, they are available. So this is what MP Amanza Walton Desir is saying. She's saying, look, in this day and age where we have access to information, why would you present something falsely and hope that you can insult people's intelligence? So what really happened? Right? This is what happened. Right? Amanza Walton Desir, who is an attorney at law, said that while Guyana on November the 19th, 2020, introduced the draft resolution, right, it did not support the resolution on the 31st. They voted against it on the 48th plenary meeting of General Assembly on the 31st, at about 10:20 a.m. Guyana locked in a vote against this resolution, right? Delegations were asked to confirm that their votes were accurate, it would accurately reflected what they wanted. And when the voting was completed, the voting machine was locked. The results of the votes entered were on records to show, and it read this: 106 in favor, 14 against. Guyana was one of the 14. For 2 abstained. So what happened after that? Again, we're unpacking these issues because we want to make it clear for you. According to Ms. Walton Desir, who of course accesses information freely online. I don't know if Caroline Rodrigues Burkett didn't know that you could have accessed the information online. But this information was online. This information was online. According to the MP, right? It was after the plenary meeting, the business of the meeting was completed, that Guyana's representative took to the floor and requested to make a correction to Guyana's vote, asking that it change from against to in favor of. Folks, this is the level of representation that we have. And instead, so what happened? It seems as though somebody made a mistake and voted against the thing. And then she took to the floor and she said, you know what? That we want to change our vote from against, we want to vote in favor of it. The Guyana representative was advised by the president of the plenary meeting that an application to effect such change would have to be made to the UN Secretariat. As of the 12th of April 2021, the voting records on the matter of draft resolution 2, a global call for concrete action against the elimination of racism and racial discrimination, shows that Guyana has voted no. She continues, she said that the voting record will remain so until Guyana takes the necessary steps to correct it. Right? The fact is that Guyana voted no and must now take administrative steps to correct this embarrassment. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation must advise Guyanese forthwith on whether this process has been initiated. That is the whole deal. So, Ms. Burkett and her team made a mistake. And instead of acknowledging the mistake, and saying, look, we made a mistake and we putting things in place to correct it, to correct the mistake, we are covering it up. Coming out and saying that, look, nothing like that happened. Oh, we voted for it. It is quite baffling that in this day and age, when information is so freely available, that you would want, as the shadow minister of foreign affairs said, to insult the intelligence of Guyanese people. This is the same ministry that was scrambling the other day when the U.S. Embassy announced that Guyana signed some deal, some agreement with Taiwan to open up an office in Guyana, which goes against decades-long understanding with China, basically agreeing with China and their one China policy. Then we had the minister scrambling, saying that, look, it was a misunderstanding with Taiwan. How do you sign a deal or an agreement on a misunderstanding? Folks, as I said, this is the story behind the story. What is really happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? It seems as though it's one mistake, one mishap, one embarrassment after the other. Again, we have Minister Todd stuck in the sunken place, can't figure out how to come to the public and say, look, this is what actually is happening here. None of that. So here we have Carleen Rodriguez Burkett. Instead of coming to the people of Guyana and say, look, it was an error. The person who was responsible for locking in the vote made a mistake, and we are taking steps to correct it. No, they don't say that. They come out and say, no, we voted for it, when the record clearly shows that you voted against it. I believe that the PBP believes that we are still stuck in 1993, where there's information anywhere. You can't get information anywhere. And there's no access to information. So they could come and lie to the nation as much as they want. That's what I believe. And they can lie to the nation as much as they want, and nobody will know whether or not they're telling the truth. Unfortunately, we are living in an age where information is freely available. So Carlene Rodriguez Burkett to come and say, look, it's totally false. Let me read that for you. Right? This is what she said in a statement on Monday. No, this is not her statement. Let me go to her statement. Right. Rejecting the contention that Guyana voted against the resolution, and she said she called it completely false. Roderick Burke said Guyana sponsored the resolution. Yes, you may have sponsored it, but the fact remains that we voted against it, and you're now scrambling behind the scenes to correct the mistake. But that is too embarrassing to admit that you made a mistake. So you come and you lie to the nation. You tell them, no, don't worry with what Mamanzo Walton Desir is saying. That's what you want people to believe. That she's making this thing up. When all you have to do is Google it. Let me share it with those persons who are watching, since we're dealing with credible and valid information here. Let me share the screen with you so you can see the actual voting record, which is still in there. Let me pull it up for you right here. For those of you who have good eyes. Oh, I have to bring it up some more. Right. There you have at the bottom. In favor of 106, against 14. Abstention 44. And there are some symbols associated. So whoever was doing the voting on behalf of Guyana, whether it is the permanent representative herself, Ms. Rodriguez Burkett, obviously this information at the bottom here, this guide was very difficult for them to follow. Right? So it's clear there, if you can see it. I mean, my eyes are not too good, but I can still see it. It's in alphabetical order. So if you look for Guyana, you will see. Right there, Guyana. With that white line through it, like a negative sign. Third row. That's it right there. So Miss Carolyn Burkett, Rodriguez Burkett, probably believed that this information was some private thing that Guyanese couldn't get a hold of. So instead of saying condemnation and say, look, right. Folks, we appreciate your comments. We appreciate you commenting. Somebody asks, how can you think it was a mistake? Well, the reality is the representative got up at the meeting and asked for it to be corrected. Instead of coming to us and saying, no, we made a mistake and we're taking steps to correct it, they say it's false. The report is totally false that we voted against. And that's the main contention here. Let's get past the fact that to vote against such a thing would be absolutely crazy on Guyana's part. Given Guyana's history with racism, we would want to support such thing, and The fact that Guyana sponsored such a resolution is commendable. But the blunders and the mistakes at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs continue to mount up and pile up like a ton of bricks of this ministry. It's one, DJ Khaled said another one. This is another one. Recently, we had Mr. Aubrey Norton speaking on this particular matter, and I want to bring his comments to you now. Let me see if I can get this playing. It's supposed to be playing.
The resolution promoting an end to discrimination against Afro-Guyanese and others, Afro people and others. This vote clearly indicated the mindset of the People's Progressive Party. It is evident that either that they didn't have discussions, or if they had discussions, they were wavering as to whether to vote yes or no. The bottom line is that they voted no, and that in itself is an indictment on the PPP regime. We believe shift to no, and I do believe this, that to no is as a result of them being exposed and the political pressure being brought to bear. As a result of that, they shifted from a no to the yes. But it is clear that in their psyche, they are promoters of racism. But probably the best judge as to how they intended to vote is the actions in Guyana. And when you look at how they are operating in Guyana, firing Afro-Guyanese, firing in anybody they perceive to be politically in opposition to them, instilling fear and intimidating people, you would recognize that they're not good into good governance and governing in the interest of all Guyanese. They are into operating based on race and political discrimination. Guyana cannot and will not develop with such an approach. We need a return to the situation where Guyanese believe all Guyanese are treated equally by an existing government.
Right. So we had there, so Aubrey Norton speaking on this. Just another blunder by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Folks, tomorrow we're hoping to have Mr. Manzo Walton Desir on the program, the APNUFC Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, who is shadowing Mr. Todd. Um, who should be doing Mr. Todd's job actually, because he seems not to know what is happening in the ministry. Not and as we talk about this, and Mr. Manzo Walton Desir mentioned it also. She said this is just another one in the many embarrassing missteps by this administration since they were installed in government, and it is hurting our international reputation. It's hurting our international relations standing. I don't know if we fully recovered yet from what happened with that Taiwan incident. I don't know if we fully recovered from that. Whether or not enough is being done to mend that deep wound. Such an embarrassing situation. For all intents and purposes, arguably, China is your second most important diplomatic partner. Arguably, there's argument to it's United States of America, there's China, there's India, there's Brazil, of course, our large neighbor. But having cordial and civil diplomatic relations with China is extremely important, as China is a significant player on the international scene. And to have the US Embassy put out a statement basically forcing your hand, saying that you have some agreement with Taiwan, which will see a setting up of an office, a Taiwan office in Georgetown, is unbelievably embarrassing, right? And Minister Todd was thrown under the bus. Still probably got those wheel marks on his back. But when the PPP threw him under the bus with that nonsense. Now we have Miss Caroline Rodriguez Burkett in the middle of this another embarrassing situation, which to say that you sponsored the bill, not the bill, the resolution, that you were one that sponsored the resolution, and then to have such a mistake, it's bewildering. It's even more embarrassing that you voted against something that you sponsored, and then to jump up at the end and want to change your vote from no to yes. Utter madness, folks. As we continue to watch what is happening in our country, we ask of you, we beg of you that you do the things you need to do to protect yourselves. Do the things you need to do to protect yourselves. That, of course, was our story behind the story. What really is happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? If it's not COVID cover up, it is continued embarrassment national scene. This is what we're saddled with, folks. Again, we started by telling you about the return to pre-2015 situations, whether it be at the passport office or GRE. But folks, let us continue to be vigilant, and hopefully we can get through this craziness. But as usual, we have time for one more thing.
Give me some folks and let me sing something now.
Right. One more thing, folks. And one more thing we're going to be discussing or looking at an interesting development. I think it's interesting. I think it's a little refreshing to see things like these happening. And of course, before I get to that, folks, as we're in one more thing, let me shout out to our friends at Village Voice. Of course, Village Voice would have launched their hard copy, their print copy of their papers. They of course, is an online version, and you can get your Sunday dailies of the Village Voice every Sunday around the country. I'll be posting some locations in a subsequent program where you can get a copy of your Village Voice on Sunday. So support the thing, as the people say, support the thing. We are also going to be doing a little different. As I explained to you at the beginning of the show, we are working to change the experience that you have with the afternoon rush. The rush is going to be a little different, and we want to bring to you a more panel-like discussion, still hitting on unpacking some of the major issues of the day, but we want to have some varied opinions flowing on the show. So we are going to be doing that a little differently. We are going to be changing our setup a little bit. We're going to be inviting, going to be having two more co-hosts, and they will be discussing and unpacking with me on a daily basis, so we make the listening and viewing experience for you a little more engaging. So that is in the works. Hopefully we can be up and running with a new set, new look, same great content, same great discussions on weekdays at 5:30 p.m. But as we're in one more thing this afternoon, let me bring this to you. I said Village Voice. This report is coming from News Source Guyana. And I think it's a good note to end on as we talk about moving forward in this new dispensation that COVID has brought upon us. The new reality of online learning, the new reality of distance learning, so to speak. and the new reality of embracing the technologies that we have on of our hands. So this is the University of Guyana. Let's take this report coming. Thank you very much to the folks there at News Source Guyana, Gordon Mosley. So let's bring this for you.
Continuing education. The gift is part of an initiative under the ExxonMobil company. The rooms are already.
Let me just bring this back for you. Right. The UG launches their Zoom
The
room.
University of Guyana will be making it easier for its lecturers and students with the launching of 18 Zoom classrooms that will also cater for students of the Institute of Distant and Continuing Education. The gift is part of an initiative under the ExxonMobil company. The rooms are already up and running at the Tain campus in Berbice, IDC Center in Linden, and the Turkine campus and other locations. According to the director of UG's Tactical Online Services, Malcolm Williams, the Zoom rooms are specially enabled rooms from which live classes can be viewed in an interactive way by multiple participants in multiple remote locations. The university's Chancellor Edward Green has expressed satisfaction at the initiative and praised the University of Guyana team for pulling off what he termed a complex project. The project was spearheaded by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Paloma Mohammed, and the senior management team.
Right. Folks, that was our one more thing this afternoon. I shared it with you because I wanted to get your views as we wrap up the show this afternoon about the state of not only education, but not only the nursery, primary, and secondary education, but tertiary. I know that persons, since the pandemic would have hit, um, are getting accustomed to this new way of living, new way of learning, and approaching the education system on this particular um, technology. I want to get into the comments before we leave so we can get some comments from those persons who are live. We know we have persons joining us from all over the world this afternoon. As we did in the beginning, we welcome those persons from all over who are on, usually on and sharing your views. Let us know what you think about this approach. And, as we talk about something a little light before we go this afternoon, we have a few minutes to wrap up. Of course, you'll join us at 8 this evening for In the Ring with Sher Duncan. And of course, we're going to be joining Mark Benchcop at 9 for Straight Up. We're going to be sharing his program right on this same page. Right? Right, so let's get your views on this initiative by the University of Guyana. Do you think it's a good one? You know, we have the vaccine. It's anybody's bet as to when we will be ready to go back fully to in-person learning. As we know, school restarted yesterday. The fourth form and fifth formers, the fifth and sixth grade students are also in primary school. Face-to-face learning with those, and of course blended with the online learning for Form 1, 2, 3. So they are back in school. I'm still a bit concerned about those persons who don't have access to internet. I think this is an issue that didn't has not gotten as much attention that it should have. I believe that it is incumbent, it's on the government. It is part of their responsibility to ensure that every single child receives the education that they deserve. Right? It's not a privilege. Healthcare is a right. Education is a right. The child has a right to an education. So if the situation in the country changes and it doesn't allow that child to come physically in school, then the government has to now assess its role in getting the education to that child, because that child still has a right to access to that education. So if his community doesn't have internet, his mother can't afford the internet, what are you doing as a government to ensure that that child is still given an education? Yes, we are sending these workbooks. In many cases, the workbook don't get to the children. Many schools are offering online, partly online, right? But as a teacher and as someone who engages with those persons in the education system, especially at the primary level, for children are not logging into those online things, and those who are not logging in, there's most likely that they can't afford it. So we have a serious situation. This is why I am not against the reopening of school, because as I keep saying, it must be done in some structured way, and people must know what are the measures in place. People must feel safe that they're sending their children into a situation that they not get sick. So, folks, again, let us know in your comments how you feel about this initiative by the University of Guyana, right? Folks, you have a lot of questions. I know I like to answer your questions at the end of the program, but some of these I don't have answers to. Um, One person is asking, what about the Gavin Matthews program? I do not have any answer for that, right? So, but again, thank you very much for joining the program. We'll be unpacking tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be getting Miss Amanza Walton Desir to talk to us about our international standings and what is happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Folks, again, we are calling on the Minister of Health to look into what is happening at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and this COVID outbreak that is happening there and the treatment of those persons working at the ministry. That is more concerning. How these workers are being treated. There seems to be no care for the well-being and the welfare of those persons working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As we said, we saw the story being covered by Village Voice, where there are also positive cases coming out of the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs. So let's keep vigilant. We'll continue to be on the issue. We'll continue to bring these issues to the fore and unpack them here. The afternoon rush, 5:30 every afternoon. Tomorrow we'll be unpacking some more issues and looking forward to our change up in the program style a little bit in the new week as we try to uh, keep you engaged. Folks, thank you very much for being a part of this. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Um, for those persons who didn't get their questions answered, hopefully we'll communicate them and we'll have Sherrod address them this evening at 8 as we go in the ring. Thank you very much for joining, folks. As I always say, let's continue working for national development. Do enjoy the rest of the evening.